I have never been so floored in my entire life. So lung cancer, I've never smoked. I've never why how could that be? And I quickly learned that that is not what lung cancer is about.
Welcome to Fem MD, real talk for women who are balancing careers, ambition, and the chaos that comes with it all. Today's guest is Audrey Bellezza. She's a romance author, Emmy-nominated TV producer, and last year she was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. Today she's here to share her story and tell us about her nonprofit, Love for Lungs. Let's dive in. Audrey, thank you so much for being here with us today. One thing we have in common, we both have 2 boys.
Yes.
Tell us how old your boys are.
They are 10 and 13. So, yeah. It's great. Actually, it's so much fun. I love it. How about
I feel
you?
like as my boys are getting older, they're 4 and 7, they're becoming more fun because you're out of like the direct caregiving and more into
Yes.
like
Yes.
playing mode. Yeah.
Yes. That and I mean ours are about the same age difference. It's really great when they like each other. And my little one is kind of obsessed with his older brother.
Oh my
That
God,
is the
same.
king. It's everything. And we are so lucky that his older brother is a wonderful person and is always just so loving and kind to him. So, I mean, they
Yeah.
beat each other up all day, but you know what I mean. Like he
It's
actually
boy
likes
love.
him.
It's how they show their affection.
We literally were saying that last night. We were sitting around the fire, and my husband's like, you know, I love that you're wrestling, but like if you're leaving marks, that might be a problem.
Uh-huh.
And my older son is like, but that's how I show love.
Yeah.
So anyway, he like scratched him by mistake. And anyway, it's very cute.
Well, to get us started, I want to congratulate you on your 3rd book that you wrote and published
Thank you.
recently. Tell us a little bit about your journey to becoming an author.
Oh, first, thank you for having me on this. This is
Yeah.
so lovely, and I very much appreciate the platform. Um, so I started out my career. I'm like, I was born on a rainy day. No, I started out my career working in television production. So I worked at the Food Network for many, many years and kind of honed my craft and, was on camera for a while and was doing development, was doing production and traveled all over. So I did that for a long time. And I loved it for, over 25 years. And then the pandemic hit, and one of my very close girlfriends who had happened to have moved to Texas at the time, because of her husband's job, she and I were writing, texting late at night. It was during that time that we were all kind of, we had pods and we were homeschooling, and we all were kind of, dealing with what was happening in the world. And we couldn't do television production. And we couldn't get into homes, we couldn't get into restaurants, whatever we were filming. And so she and I started saying, exchanging ideas back and forth, writing ideas back and forth. And she had self-published a couple books and had written for a while. And I sent her something I had done, and she said, "Why don't we write something together?" So there may have been wine, there may have been, crazy ideas of what we could do, and then we thought, well, what do we love? What do we want to? What could we write together? And we realized that we both had this deep love for Jane Austen, and we had both just watched the Anya Taylor-Joy Emma, and so we thought, let's take a crack at writing Emma. With, all the hubris of people who didn't, there's so much out there of retellings. So we decided to do this kind of fun, modern New York City love letter, Jane Austen retelling of Emma, and it's called Emma of 83rd Street. And we wrote that, and we wrote it for each other. We didn't actually think it was going to go anywhere. We just thought, oh, this is something to do during the pandemic. She would write a chapter, I would write a chapter. We would I mean, it was just pop culture and a fun way to think about characters and tell a story, because that's what we did in our TV world. So we finished that book, and when it was done, we thought, this is kind of good. So we tried to get an agent, and we did the whole like, can this go anywhere? And we were lucky to find a wonderful agent, and we pitched around, and we signed with Gallery Books at Simon and Schuster, and it was a dream. It was an absolute miracle. We couldn't believe it. It was our childhood dreams come true. So we pivoted. Got out of television production and pivoted to being authors. And it's been lovely. This world is wonderful. Everyone's been so welcoming. So we then we wrote our second book. It's a modern retelling of Pride and Prejudice, and it's called Elizabeth of East Hampton. And so that came out last summer. And then this is our third book in the trilogy. They kind of all they all stand alone, and you don't have to have read Jane Austen to read them. They're just modern, fun, spicy books. And this third one is called Anne of Avenue A, and it's a modern retelling of Persuasion. So we have the three fun books.
I
So
love
yeah,
it. Also, just the serendipity of life, how this pandemic happened, our lives changed
yes,
forever. You never thought necessarily you would write a romance novel with one of your good friends. It brought you closer. It gave you that kind of human connection, why we all felt so isolated. I love that story. I'm curious, just quickly, do you
yes.
have a
No, ask.
favorite? Do you have a favorite of the three?
Oh, it's so we get asked this, and I go back and forth. I mean, I love our second book. I love our first book because it kind of brought us out of the pandemic, in a way, and gave us something to do. But I love our second book because it takes place where my parents met, which is in the Hamptons and in the 1970s when it was affordable. And they had a share house, and they have a great meet cute story. So I kind of love that connection to the Hamptons. And but I do love the character of Emma, and our George Knightley is my book boyfriend that I will, I love forever. But this third book is has so much depth to it. The characters are really interesting too. So I don't know. I can't pick.
And
They're all
then
my babies.
I love it. Yeah, there's no favorite. They're all just different in a
Yes,
very good
yes,
way.
they are.
Tell us about, this third book. Not only was it the last in the trilogy, but it kind of segues into what we'll talk about today.
Yes, yes. Um, so at this third book was particularly meaningful because in the middle of writing it, um, I got diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. And and then 2 days later, my dad died. So when Emily and I finished this book, it was this, it was this labor of love. This I can't believe the year that's just happened, and then I will always be tied to this book because and the characters, which I always felt very close to. The main protagonist, Anne, who is going through a tough time, a little different, but still. And at the end of this book, we have in the acknowledgments, I thank everyone. There was so many people that have been helping me, but we have a QR code that links to the nonprofit that my brother and I started and my husband called Love for Lungs, and we also have like the Instagram, Our Love for Lungs. So it's I don't tell my whole story, but in the acknowledgments, I start it. And if people want to understand more, and if I can educate and raise awareness about lung cancer and what I've learned, great.
Before we talk about Love for Lungs, I want to go back and are you okay with walking us through like your initial steps in being diagnosed? Like I assume
Mhm.
you wound up somewhere in the healthcare system. But walk us through those
Yeah.
first few steps.
So, yeah, it's an interesting new world to be a part of. So I thought everything was fine with me. I didn't have any big worry. I had just I just had my 50th roller skating birthday party. So I was doing fine. Felt good. I mean, I had all these ailments that, most people in their 50s probably have. Oh, acid reflux. Oh, is it menopause? Oh, is it aging? Oh, is it allergies? I had symptoms of things. But they're all very explainable. And I had just had a sinus surgery like 6 months prior, had just had MRIs. Like, I mean, I was pretty healthy, except I had this pain in my hip. I went to physical therapy for it, and it was just a month in, and I wasn't getting better. So, which I think for most people, they would have just kept going and doing physical therapy. But my sister's a physical therapist, and I wasn't going to her. She just had a baby. So I was going to someone who was wonderful, but I was like, this isn't getting better. So my, along with my hip doctor, who's amazing, that's where I was. I went to my hip was hurting. So I went to a hip doctor who had done a surgery for me like 8 years ago. I had a hip arthroscopy, and so did my sister. It was nothing related to any kind of cancer. And so I went to him, and I was like, oh, my hip, and we did the PT. And then we pushed together with our insurance for an MRI, but it was us pushing. And so I was just making sandwiches for my sons for camp in the middle of the summer of 2024, writing my book and writing the second one and just thinking life is amazing. Like, I really things were good. And then he called me and said he was shocked and said, you need to get to an oncologist right away. And then I was thrust into this world, and I didn't realize at the time that this doctor set everything up. He called a friend. So I was like, where am I going? And he figured it out, and he helped me. Um, and the first doctor he put me in touch with was a orthopedic oncologist. So that's who I saw. And they didn't know what was wrong with me. They didn't know what cancer it was. They didn't know. There was a lot of unknowns.
Because the MRI was just of your hip,
It was
correct?
just of my hip.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So it was just of my hip. So there was, but it was coming from, and it was coming from somewhere. They didn't know where. And it was a lot of unknowns for a couple weeks. And that unknown time period when you are getting tests done is, uh, I think I lost 20 pounds. I was just ill. I just was so upset. It was horrible. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. That was a really awful time. But uh, the great thing that my hospital did was they did biomarker testing, which not every hospital does. There's 65% of hospitals do this, but there's a biomarker testing day in November during Lung Cancer Awareness Month, but people don't know that this has to happen, and I didn't know. But my doctors just did it, and it came back that I had lung cancer. And to tell you, I have never been so floored in my entire life. So lung cancer, I've never smoked. I've never, why, how could that be? And I quickly learned that that is not what lung cancer is about. It at all. It has nothing to do with smoking. It's just something that can happen. If you have lungs, you can get lung cancer. That's what everyone's saying. So I feel like this is the new colonoscopy, that everybody needs to know that you can get lung cancer, and we need to change the screenings because there is no early detection for this. That unless you are a heavy smoker and over the age of 50, and people are getting this younger and younger. There's this, I was just reading this yesterday. There was this study that came out of Northwestern that if they lowered the age to 40 and made it nothing to do with smoking history, they would catch 94% of lung cancers. And lung cancer is the highest killer of all the cancers. It kills 1.5 times more people than breast cancer, women than breast cancer. So it's the deadliest one and the least funded, and there's all these statistics that anyway, I was thrust into this crazy world of lung cancer that I never expected. And then I went to my dad's funeral, and it was, a that time I remember it, because I will never forget, but it was awful. Um, but I had a really wonderful I have great support systems. So then we got some really good news, and uh, from the biomarker testing, um, about a week after that, they told me that I got struck by lightning, and I got diagnosed with ALK-positive lung cancer, which is a mutation, and a driver mutation lung cancer. And this is really good news because they can treat it, but they can't treat it forever. They gave me some pills, and the pills don't work forever, but they work for a while. Like, if they didn't have these pills, if I got this 10, 15 years ago, I wouldn't be here. So I'm really grateful for them. It's amazing. They kind of push the cancer back. They push everything back. And what I pray for, what I always want is no progression. You just pray no progression. I have to get scans every 3 months.
Hmm.
So, and brain MRIs every 6 months. Because with lung cancer, the the lesions move to your brain. That's where it goes the fastest. So you know, I'm have to get these brain MRIs. I have to get CT scans, and stay on top of everything. It's a lot. You finish one test, and then you're scheduling it again.
Yeah.
So 3 months goes very quickly. I mean, but again, I am so grateful there's these pills. So that's where I am.
So if we go back to these first few kind of weeks and months, I can imagine it's a bit of a blur at this, you know, we in medical school, we learn about these like dedicated stages of kind of grief when patients are given a diagnosis like this. And oftentimes we're taught that patients go into a denial state and then often progress to kind of this anger state.
Mm.
Can you talk to us? I mean, I can imagine like if I received a phone call like that, at first I would probably think like, "Oh, you have the wrong
Oh
person.
yeah.
Like you
Hmm.
dialed the digit wrong on the phone. Like I don't have
Hmm.
lung cancer." Did any of those thoughts, denial or anger, like do you remember having any of
Oh,
those?
oh, yes. I, as a writer, have journaled this entire experience. It's very fresh. I can pull it all up pretty quickly. I remember vividly. And yes, I mean, all the words for anger, all the words for denial, every stage of grief, I have been through it and back 10 times. So, yes, that's where I was, and sometimes I can get right back to that, I mean, I
Yeah.
can get triggered and get right back to that. I have a amazing therapist. So, yeah, it, I don't people say, "Oh, I'm so sorry you're going through this." And I say, "I'm not going through anything. I am in it. This is my new reality,
Yeah.
and I have to learn how to live with this new reality." And I am not exactly you know, I mean, life was pretty grand before before this all hit. Things were going really great, and I it's my world view has kind of shifted, and I don't necessarily know if that's a bad thing sometimes. Um,
Tell us more about that. How has your worldview shifted?
well, you just kind of I lived in a little bit of a bubble, It's like there's people who are suffering. There's people who have cancer. I mean, I'm just one. I'm now part of this amazing community of people and patients and caregivers. This ALK positive community is. I do feel a little bit lucky. Like a lot of people go through cancer by themselves, and you can choose not to be part of it. But I immediately Googled alkpositive.org, and I got into this world of patients that are fundraising, and you know cancer that when you go to the conference, it kind of feels cool. We had like there's like a margarita party, and I'm like, this is the new face of lung cancer? These young, vibrant people who got diagnosed with this out of the blue and who could be angry but choose to be hopeful. So, yeah, I can pull to all those feelings.
And then walk us through, again, kind of in the early stages of learning about your diagnosis and that it was stage 4. Tell us about how you talked with your friends and family about what was going on.
Oh, it was I made it so complicated because I'm a dramatic, over the top person. And I could have just, but, I had to tell people personally, like I felt, I have these strong friendships and I really wanted people to know the way I wanted to know. I didn't tell my kids for a long time because, well, a long time in the scheme of life, but short now when I look back. But I didn't have a lot of positive things to say in the beginning. So I didn't tell them, and they didn't need to know how broken I was. And I want to, be hopeful. That's
When
what I
when
want to
you
be.
say when you say you're broken, do you mean that in a physical sense or emotional or both?
Both. I mean, if you're talking about the first couple weeks, I was inconsolable. I mean, I can't, this is happening to me, this can't be. And, my family's like, we're rocks. We're solid. Like, this has been such a lovely childhood, a wonderful, everything's been coming up roses. Like, how could this be happening to me? So
Yeah.
that a lot of why is this happening to me? A lot of, throwing my son's lacrosse balls across the room, that kind of stuff. And because I'm fairly dramatic. And um, having a calling on the people that could help me. I almost, I have these friends who with different skills, I guess you could say. I have, the person who would sit me down and say, "You're being ridiculous," like, this is what's going on. You need to focus. Then I have the one who is, so empathetic and would feel it with me and cry with me. And then I had my friend who had breast cancer and survived and is like telling me what to do, like, I will pass it along. I mean, it was all these, and then all of my, some of my, then I ran my college friends I hadn't seen in a bit. And I went to Fairfield University in Connecticut. And my college friends, some of them are nurses, um, 3 of them. And so I called them and, they're like, what can we do? We're all, I had text chains going on. And so a lot of people helping me and supporting me, and me just kind of like, instead of being the TV producer, stand up, I'm on top of this rose kind of person. I was a big old mess, and I just kind of leaned on everyone to help me. And, didn't want my kids to see that side until I had some hope. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, Audrey, I know that when it comes to getting and receiving a big diagnosis like this, the question of prognosis often comes up. And it makes me think back to when I worked with a medical oncologist in medical school. And I think that he was really phenomenal in the way that he communicated with patients. I worked with him for a full month. So I saw a lot of like returning patients, new patients with him. And one thing that I liked that he did was when a patient got a new diagnosis, they would, inevitably they say like, well, how long do I have to live, if I pursue treatment or I don't pursue treatment? And often the answer was different, like based on what path they decided to pursue.
Mm.
And the way he would say it would be, well, 50% of people are still alive at 1 year and 50% of people have passed at 1 year. And I think that rather than telling people you have 1 year to live, which seems so like definitive, it gave them more of an understanding of the statistics that go into giving people prognoses. Did you have this kind of like timeline discussion with your first like cancer doctor?
No. Well, not a little bit. I asked that question a lot, and no one gave me a definitive answer. I looked it up on Google and was, you know, if you have stage 4 lung cancer, it says you have 6 months to live, a year to live. That's what the internet says. So stay off the internet and listen to your doctors more. Um, no one, because lung cancer is so developing with all of its techniques to save us. Um, there is a lot of, could I be that person who makes it? There is that kind of feeling. If I had gotten this 10 years ago, it would be a death sentence or more than that. And I don't know what's going to happen. And as my husband says, you can get hit by a bus tomorrow. So, like what's anyone's prognosis? You have to lean into being, you can lean into despair. You can definitely do that and be the 50%. I hear what you're saying. Um, and, or you can lean into hope. And I found hope. I mean, just taking my pills did make me feel very like, oh my God, when is this going? It felt like it was almost the opposite of what it was trying to do, which was keep me alive. I was like, when is this going to not work anymore? It was kind of a scary feeling. And I mean, that's where I am right now. I'm taking my pills, and who knows how long they will last. I hope a long time, but I don't know. But when I um, went down to Johns Hopkins, I researched and I found that there's about 12 ALK specialists of ALK-positive lung cancer around the country. So the one closest to me is Johns Hopkins. So I went there and I met Dr. Vincent Lamb, and he's my specialist. And he first thing he did was he switched me from pill 1 to pill 2. The whole pill thing is so interesting, like how these pills developed and how many stages there are of them. There's not that many. There's like um, uh, first line of defense and second line of defense, and then you're done. And then you have lung cancer, you have to treat it and chemo or however. So I was on the first line of defense, and when that doesn't work, you go to the second line of defense. But I got down to him, and he said there's a brand new study that just came out, and you're supposed to start with the second line of defense, start with the strongest. And I was like, wait, but then that's it. What happens? And he's like, well, that's supposed to work actually longer. That's what the study says. So now I'm on the second line of defense. This pill is called loratinib. It's amazing, but it has these crazy side effects, like crazy. So, I mean, it actually turns people crazy. So, there's a lot of things that I've been dealing with over the year, but like neuropathy and weird things. But
For folks that are
yeah,
listening, go into more detail about some of the side effects
sure.
because I'm very much of the mind, like everything in life
Yes.
has a trade-off, right?
It's,
This pill
yes,
is helping fight your cancer, but certainly there's a trade-off. So walk us
yes.
through like what neuropathy you're experiencing and any other side effects.
Well, I will preface it all by saying it is 100% worth it. And you just have to get through the first like 6 to 9 months. But a lot of people have problems with uh, mental health issues. I went manic and got had euphoria. So that was mine. Some people have different experiences. It's interesting when you get into the community and you're like, what's your reaction? What happened to you? So that happened to me. And I wrote 3 books and started a nonprofit. Like I needed 4 hours of sleep. It was kind of amazing. So for me, that side of it was great. The neuropathy and water weight gain. I have to wear like compression stockings, which one should probably wear when they're, of a certain age anyway. So it's good for you. So that's fine. I mean, everything I can sort of rationalize and say, this is worth it. This is absolutely 100% worth it. But there are some weird, tingly feelings, hands and, feet do this like pins and needles. And I, yeah, so that's it. But, when I was So those were my side effects, and it's worth it. But when I went to Dr. Lamb, when I was leaving his office, he asked me if I wanted to be put on the list for a vaccine he was creating, the first in the world for ALK-positive lung cancer. And I, I absolutely flipped out, and I said, "Yes, I do want to be on the list. Tell me more. Tell me everything."
Hmm.
So that started my journey of learning about, first of all, you can use a vaccine to possibly cure cancer. Like that's was wild to me. And that I could get it or patients could get it after we already had the cancer. So that was interesting to me. His is a peptide vaccine. The vaccines we all saw during COVID, which is the reason we're so advanced with vaccines, is an mRNA vaccine, most of them. The Moderna and the Pfizer ones were mRNA. They just kind of attack go after the virus, as you probably know more. And but so this is a peptide vaccine, and you can only get it if you have no progression, if you're sort of stable. So that's what we all wish for, no progression, and we want to get this vaccine out to the world, and that's what I'm fundraising for. That's what this nonprofit is for.
Tell us where in development the vaccine is right now.
Well, you have to talk to Dr. Lamb about the exact information about it. I don't want to say anything wrong, but I do know that in May of 2024, he administered the first dose of the vaccine to patients,
To a patient.
um,
Okay.
to the first group of patients. So I guess the beginning of the clinical trial,
Trial. Yeah.
and we want to open up more trials. It's very costly. Um, and that's what we're raising money for, to open up more trials to give this to more patients.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, when a new drug is developed or a new vaccine is developed, they have different stages. First, they have to
Mhm.
prove that it's safe. Then they have to prove that it's effective. So there's stage 1, 2, 3, 4. They often also try it before in animal models before giving it to humans. So that's really exciting that the vaccine is already being given to patients with ALK positive lung cancer.
It's really exciting. And the really cool thing about all of this is, from what I've learned, most I I I mean, you tell me, but it seems that a lot of new medicines and vaccines, they go through a lot of channels, and they have a lot of things behind them and grants behind them. And this Dr. Lamb got the grants, and the patients are the ones who have raised the money for this. He had this idea in 2018 to create this vaccine, and he told some of the patients, and these patients raised money over 5 years. I came in at the end of it. So over 5 years, they raised all this money to open a lab, to fund whatever it costs to make a vaccine, to store a vaccine. It needs to be really cold. And so, a lot of them have gotten the vaccine because everyone's raised this money. So I'm trying to be part of those efforts.
For sure. Now, how did you initially find Dr. Lamb? You mentioned that you found him at Johns Hopkins, but it doesn't sound like he was your first oncologist.
Mm. Um, this is my big note. I advocated for myself, and I didn't. No one, when I left my wonderful oncology office in at the hospital, who they're not ALK specialists, but they told me I was ALK positive, and that was it. And I sort of went home and was like, okay, I'm taking my pills. Like everyone kind of knows what to do. You give these pills. Um, I went to the internet and I looked up ALK positive, and I found this support group, and it's alkpositive.org, and I'm watching all the videos that they have and all the information that they have. And they had a video, and in the video, there were two doctors that talked about what it meant to have ALK positive. And at the time, they had on the website, we may even live 6 years. Like it was kind of, you know, a wake up uh, call to it. Is they've since changed the website because things have changed. People are living longer. These drugs are working even better. there's more hope. So I was on that website and I saw Dr. Lamb and this other doctor, Dr. Lovely. And Dr. Lamb was closer. So I went to him. And then I have a second opinion doctor through one of my nurse friends from college up at Mass General. So Dr. Jessica Lynn is my third opinion. And I will go have fourth opinions and fifth opinions. Like these doctors, they don't mind. They all know each other. They're all, they're all sort of on the same page. They're all working on other vaccines. It's sort of such a, once you, I mean, but once you get into this world of medicine and hospitals and, breakthrough, cancer saving vaccines, it's wild. It's interesting. So
Yeah, I would imagine it's a very collaborative
it's very
environment,
collaborative.
even though the different doctors are at different hospitals. Now, you mentioned
Mm,
very early on you had to kind of like petition your insurance company to pay for your hip MRI.
yeah.
Have you run into any health insurance coverage challenges through
Yeah.
all of your diagnosis and treatment? Talk a little bit more about how health insurance has kind of helped you or hurt you through all of this.
Well, thank goodness for health insurance. That's the headline. Um, we were on Cobra when I got diagnosed. My husband was in between jobs, so throw that into the mix. We were dealing with that. Um, that was a nightmare. And but we had Cobra and we're dipping into our savings because that we had to have it. My pills actually cost $25,000 a month. But insurance covers it. I mean, I can go to Canada and it's $800 a month, so it's I'm learning this world. I'm learning how you have to navigate it. I'm really lucky that these pills are covered, that it's usually covered. um so we after we did my husband did fine work, a great job, and we are now on a new health insurance, and that health insurance is in a fight with Johns Hopkins, and they're not taking them anymore. So I don't know what's going to happen. Like
Was it hard
that's
for you to be on his plan initially with the pre-existing diagnosis that you had?
that wasn't an issue. I hope
Wasn't
that
an
never
issue.
becomes an issue. I'm very frightened that that will become an issue. I hope that none of that rolls back.
Yeah. And let's speed up to kind of today. Like, how are you feeling physically and emotionally?
Mm, Emotionally, I am much better than I was. But I can talk about it. I want to talk about it. I welcome talking about it. I'm learning so much. I'm feeling very hopeful. I'm just trying to get this vaccine out to the world. I think it will change. Oh, I think it will be a game changer. I think we're possibly talking about a cure for cancer. And that makes me, I get very excited about that. So,
Yeah, to have something so tangible to work
yes.
towards has got to feel meaningful.
It's it's when you are diagnosed and you feel so helpless and you feel so out of control, for someone who is I like to have control of things. um it's it's a game changer. You are able to channel your energies into something that not only is making you feel better but could have a huge impact. And that is something that's kind of wonderful to me too. That's the silver lining that has come out of all of this.
Yes, I actually
Mm.
wrote down silver lining on my notes because I felt like earlier when we were talking about it, I very much sense that I mean, I'm sure there are days that still feel horrible and unmanageable, but why do you think your innate being, your personality is able to see the silver lining? Is that something that you've always been able to do?
This is what I will say. I've thought about this. Because there's a book that I read called The Wedding People. And in it, in the beginning, it's such a great book. But there's the woman is having a hard time, and she sees these women who are really positive and upbeat and have their hair in like looking adorable, and she's like, ugh, they're walking around with the confidence of a mother who loved them. And I really feel like I had this upbringing of these parents, my mother, who just like very much loved me and made me feel very confident so that I can speak up, and I I don't mind feeling vulnerable and saying that doesn't feel right. I want to say something. So I feel like I was kind of born with this confidence, but I lost it for a little while when my dad died, and I kind of lost myself for a little while. And there was times where I was just sort of lost. But I kind of um, once I kind of found it. It was hard, but I found that confidence again, and then I started advocating for myself and um, paving my way and figuring out how I can stay alive as long as possible for my boys. Like that's the goal, you know. That's it. Make memories and stay alive. Go to Disney. All of that.
Yeah. Now tell us about Love for Lungs. How
Yeah.
did that initially become, and what are your goals for Love for Lungs today?
I'm so excited to talk about this because I haven't really talked about it. Like I've talked about my books, I've talked about, on podcasts, I've promoted things, but I have never gotten the opportunity to talk about it yet. It's so new. It was just born. But it does feel like a baby. It took like 9 months to come up with. But in the middle of all of this, I of this lung cancer mess, I did see that oh, there's such a need to raise money and funds and awareness for ALK positive lung cancer and for Dr. Lamb. So I created this nonprofit. I asked my brother, who had just gotten his MBA, and my husband, who's in advertising. And, I have this television and writing background. And I thought, well, we could do something, can't we? And so we spent the next 9 months sort of researching and getting our act together and putting a board together, with people who are very qualified and um, you know uh, and and using our media and storytelling abilities to hopefully change stigmas of behind lung cancer. It has nothing to do with smoking. Oh, well, it's a little bit, but not like it was. And raise awareness and fund research like this life-saving vaccine out of Johns Hopkins from Dr. Lamb. So yeah, that's our goal. That's our platform and our mission statement. And we have all these fun ideas of ways to raise money. And our goal is, unlimited. It's
Yeah.
what could it be? It could be anything. It's kind of exciting.
Can you
You
go
know,
into more of the ideas that you have for fundraising in terms of your efforts, your events? Tell us
yeah.
what's on the horizon.
We have a couple things, but the one I can talk about that is we're in the middle of planning because when I announced this horrible situation of my stage 4 lung cancer, the book world absolutely rallied and couldn't have been more supportive. So we are putting together a Galentine's Day silent book auction, so a rom-com kind of book auction, and we'll be auctioning away signed books from authors and other fun things. So that will be starting on February 6th and lasting for a week as a silent auction, and then we'll probably have some kind of event on the 13th. We're still figuring out, but it's our you can go to where will I have this listed? It will be on my Instagram for sure at our love for lungs. So that's our love, the number 4 lungs. And then also on my personal writing Instagram, which is Audrey Bellezza Writes, and that's 2 L's, 2 Z's. Audrey Bellezza Writes. So I'll post it all over the place if I can. And yeah, so that's what's upcoming, but there'll be a lot more.
Well, Audrey, I want to just thank you so much for coming on the show, being so vulnerable and telling us about kind of your journey as a cancer patient. I'm really excited to follow our love for lungs and see everything that you guys are able to do for the ALK-positive lung cancer community. I do want to ask, coming back to your very last book, since you finished writing it after you were diagnosed, are there any
Yes.
messages? Are there any messages or quotes from that book
Yes.
that you've used to kind of get through the past few months?
Um, yes, I love that question. Thank you. There is this character, his name is James, and he he says, "Don't delay what brings you joy." And I feel very connected to that now, very connected to James. So I am not delaying what brings me joy. We are trying to make memories with our boys, and every day is kind of I understand the idea of every day is a gift. It really is.
I love that, Audrey. Well, any last um, words of wisdom for our audience? Is there anywhere else that they can follow you or contribute to your efforts?
I guess if they, I'm hoping that we people can go to loveforlungs.org, and you'll see I did this video that kind of explains my whole story, and uh, I would love it if people would watch the video. If you want to donate, great, but watch the video and understand a little bit what ALK positive lung cancer is and how it can affect anybody. So I think that's the main thing, and to follow us on Instagram.
I love it, Audrey. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Today's episode is brought to you by the Hippocratic Collective. Check out our shows and content at hippocratic-collective.com.